Even though we're doing training, the first thing we're going to do is we'll get everybody together, talk about the scenario. We'll see what equipment we have available first, and then we come up with the plan.
There's many reasons why we're building capacity within the Guardian teams. They're here pre-positioned, ready to go in the area, so they're the first guys that can be on scene. Obviously in an oil spill, that time is of the essence, and being able to get there fast and take effective action really determines whether you're going to have a successful response long-term or not.
The Nanwakolas Marine team work very closely with our member nation Guardians in helping to coordinate and build capacity for marine incident preparedness and response. So the nations have the capacity, the training, the equipment to actually be out and respond first in their territory.
We could be one of the first groups out there, ready to go. We know the areas, know what's sensitive. Local knowledge is huge too, what's going on, and especially the tides around here and the weather that we get.
There's so many sensitivities around the nation's territories with the many archaeological sites. I know like in our territory, we've got over 60 documented clam gardens and even more undocumented. There's a lot of area to protect that the community wants to see protected more now. They want to see the nation's Guardians out there doing the work and not the government.
One of the benefits of having nation Guardians prepared and equipped to respond is that not often are Coast Guard available or WCMRC available to respond very quickly. Nations are here, they have the equipment, they have the training, they can respond immediately and help contain a very serious situation before it gets out of control.
The end goal for the Guardians is to be the primary responders in some of the spills that are of importance. We know the place best, and at the same time waiting around sometimes for a team to get deployed to a spill can almost be too late. So if we are there and we have the means, why not step into action?
First Nations are on the same level with the federal and provincial government for making decisions with regard to responses to marine incidents in their territory. It's only fitting that they should be able to exercise that operational component as well and not have to ask for anybody's approval or permission to access the gear and do what they think needs to do to protect sensitivities that are important to the nation. We need to respect and support them in that. I just think that's in everybody's interest.
Being in partnership with the Coast Guard and Search and Rescue, they're starting to realize and recognize how much of a resource we are to them and how we can take care of our own territory and not only help ourselves, but we're helping our community and helping the whole environment around us. And that's what we're here to do.
It is really a team approach, and the work that we're doing in planning, in pre-planning, in training, and in exercise really leads to the collaborative environment that this response team, inclusive of all partners, really needs to ensure the success. Especially with the nature of our coast and remote coastal areas, the Guardian programs, their ability to respond rapidly, their intricate knowledge of the areas from day to day, tide cycles, currents, stuff that really is local knowledge is imperative in not just response, but the response planning process.
We find that there's just a different perspective that the Guardians bring. And sometimes what doesn't seem like a big deal to our response partners or our co-governance partners can be a big deal. There's been several times where what seemed like a routine incident was actually kind of a big deal, and having Guardians involved in the ground floor, we were able to put some measures in place to stop a situation that was moderately bad from becoming really bad.
Local knowledge is perhaps the most important and critical piece in response to marine pollution incidents or incidents with hazardous vessels. It's culturally significant sites, it's food fishery information, it's stuff that the responders need to have and to be aware of so that we can understand the significance of protecting those resources for everybody, to the benefit of those that live in their traditional territories and harvest, but also to the benefit of the environment more broadly to all Canadians.
Not all emergencies are large scale. They can be very small but have huge impacts, especially in a small confined waterway that we have in the Inside Passage in North Vancouver Island.
When an oil spill happens, the ability to get resources on scene and get that oil spill contained and sensitivities protected is key. Obviously the oil keeps on moving, and so if there's delays in getting that boom out, then sensitivities don't get protected, stuff gets oiled, and obviously that's something we want to prevent.
First, we try to gather as much information as we can, find out what the potential hazard is, what it's like on scene, on the ground, and then try to best prepare for that.
The Guardians had to look at the situation, look at the amount of resources they had at hand, and try and prioritize what response activities they wanted to take and what in a long list of sensitivities they wanted to protect. They had to work through that exercise, choose what sensitivities they thought were most important, and then develop strategies to deploy boom to protect those sensitivities. It's really about developing your response muscles to figure out how that all works.
In order for nations to be able to be effective responders in their territory, it's very important that they have the equipment that is necessary to carry out those responsibilities they have. They need trailers with boom, easily accessible, all the response equipment that goes into that trailer, and they need to have the personnel that are trained and experienced. So we're actively working with building that capacity within the nation's community to be able to effectively respond. One of the things that Nanwakolas was able to achieve this year was to purchase a boom trailer, fully equipped with all of the equipment for all of the member nations to use, have access to practice with.
We're lucky Nanwakolas just purchased the trailer with some boom. Now that's going to be shared between 6 nations. I think it's 1,000 feet of boom we have between 6 nations, so it's not quite a whole lot, but it's better than what we had before. In a perfect world, maybe one day each nation would have their own trailer with their own boom equipment. For our nation, for instance, that we have a vast territory that gets a lot of marine traffic. It would be needed a lot.
It's just the first start. Ideally, each nation would have their own response equipment and their own trained guardians to be able to access their own trailer, store it where they want to store it, to be able to respond to the most sensitive areas in their waters.
There definitely are some gaps right now. Equipment needs would be a big one for us.
I think it's a very vital, important piece of equipment that we need to help preserve, protect, and maintain our own traditional territories. So then we don't have to wait to respond, we can respond instantly.
You think about the beauty of this coast and how everyone benefits from the pristine environment that we have here, from tourists to recreational fishers to anyone exploring our coast. Nanwakolas and our member nations have made such progress over the last several years in building that capacity for the nations to be responders in their communities. The investments that have taken place so far have made huge changes. I see it when I meet with the Guardians after a day of exercising. The continued investment in Indigenous communities' capacity will benefit everyone on our coast.